Welcome back to another Granularity AI tutorial. It's been a pretty big month, both in AI releases as well as robotics. Both Anthropic and OpenAI released models, Anthropic with their Claude 3.7, which is a coding mastermind at this point, as well as GPT 4.5 from OpenAI, which, from what I'm learning, is more of a refinement from past models versus any leap in intelligence. It more so focuses on emotional responses and emotional reasoning, it seems. Um, but I'm not really sure what's bigger, either the release of GPT 4.5 or the release of the Kung Fu Bot videos that I've been circulating across social media. Personally, I'm gonna have to go with Kung Fu Bot. Kind of scary, kind of worries me, but ultimately pretty cool. But today we're going to talk about GPT 4.5 and comparing it against 3.7. Like I said, this isn't necessarily a model that has immense updates when it comes to coding, when it comes to responses, but mainly is just a refinement of GPT-4, 4.0, whatever it may be. Um, so with that being said, as you can see here, we can see this is a research preview of GPT 4.5, our largest and most capable GPT model yet. Its deep world knowledge and better understanding of user intent makes it good at creative tasks and agentic planning. GPT 4.5 excels at tasks that benefit from creative, open ended thinking and conversations such as writing, learning, or exploring new ideas. So, as you can see, 128,000 context window, which I think is more, I think I've seen it more in the 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 GPT-4 library or models of things. 16,384 max output tokens. Uh, September 30th, 2023 knowledge cutoff. I don't really like that aspect. Um, I feel like that kind of doesn't necessarily make it uh, less useful because it does. ChatGPT at this point right now does include web search, which adds a lot to it. But with it not being up to date, kind of bothers me. At least up to date to somewhere around the fall or winter of 2024 does kind of bother me. Um, but it's a pretty cool model. We're not going to throw any coding questions to it. We're not going to throw any mathematical questions to it. As you can see, like it says here, GPT 4.5 excels at tasks that benefit from creative, open ended thinking and conversations, such as writing, learning, or exploring new ideas. So, kind of pointless in throwing coding questions or mathematical questions or very extreme critical thinking questions to it when really it's just supposed to be a model that has better conversation ability, better creative ability, and more of a writer slash planning model, maybe better at aiding you in planning certain tasks out. So what we're going to use to do something to compare these models that I think you, if you go down my past content, you'll see that I've played with AI Suite in the past when it comes to determining the responses of different models and how their output might be. So we're not only going to test 4.5 but 3.7 from Anthropic, and let's see here. Da, 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 da. Move my face out of the way. For 3.7, we have our most intelligent model, highest level of intelligence and capability with toggleable extended thinking. I didn't know toggleable was a word. Multilingual, has vision, extended thinking, comparative latency fast, 200K context window, larger than the OpenAI GPT 4.5 model. Training cutoff date November 2024. So I used to be a pretty diehard OpenAI GPT um, user. I think now I am starting to lean more into the Claude models. They just operate better. The cutoff is better when it comes to training data. Um, they just honestly seem to be outpacing OpenAI at this point. I know OpenAI has the government contracts and deals and stuff, but I think, at least as far as the US government, I think they're really missing out by making sure, or by not making sure that they kind of include Anthropic into this conversation. I personally only think because since Anthropic focuses on safety and kind of just being cognizant of ethical I think that's the only reason why the US didn't choose to maybe create a deal with them when it comes to having them as a contractor for whatever kind of AI development that the US is trying to do. I think they kind of just don't want the safety and ethical models to be included. They kind of just want to be able to direct the model and for it to act, which I think in the end, long term effects could have some implications. But um, I'm very much of an observant kind of let's sit and wait and see how things kind of turn out. But still a fan of OpenAI. I just think I'm becoming more of a fan of Claude these days. But anyways, if you're familiar with AI Suite, you know this is something that was, I think, created in part by Andrew Yang, very, very, very famous computer scientist, technologist. Pretty much is, I guess, either the godfather or one of the part of the Mount Rushmore individuals of AI. Very, very important when it comes to deep learning. Very, very important when it comes to neural networks. I'm a huge fanboy, I will admit, of Andrew Yang and Fifi Lee as well. Those are like the two people I definitely look up to and really, really um, read a lot of their work and stuff like that. But AI Suite is makes it easy for developers to use multiple LLM through a standardized interface. So rather than, you kind of going to, or you kind of having different uh, programmatically having to create different ways or use different ways to communicate or to pass information to each model. Instead, you kind of have a holistic, centralized spot where you can kind of test out model responses. It makes it way easier when it comes to comparability. But anyways, using an interface similar to OpenAI's using an interface similar to OpenAI's AI Suite makes it easy to interact with the most popular LLMs and compare the results. It is a thin wrapper around Python client libraries and allows creators to seamlessly swap out and test responses from different LLM providers without changing their code. Today, the library is primarily focused on chat completions. We will expand it. We will expand it to cover. I guess they missed the two. We will expand it to cover more use cases in the near future. Currently support Anthropic, AWS, Azure, Cerebras, Google, Grok, Hugging Face, Mistral, OpenAI, blah blah blah. You get the idea. So some of the examples that you'll see here, um, mainly we're going to be using, as you can see, they have the AI Suite demo, DeepSeek Post, stuff like that, LLM reasoning. These are just ways to test, again, the LLM responses. As far as the DeepSeek one, I'm not entirely sure. This might, again, just be able to test its reasoning capabilities, content. Uh, yeah, I'm not sure. It looks like it's just testing its reasoning capabilities and stuff like that. Talk using Pirate English. Yeah. Okay. I see they use Deep Sea Reasoner, R1 Distill. 70B. Oh, Samba Nova, Grok, together. Okay, so I guess just using different providers for the R170B model and see what kind of the responses might be. Okay, got it. Anyways, let's not get too carried away um, with the model stuff. Let's kind of jump into the actual code. So this is what we're going to be using, where you do a pip install for the AI suite. Make sure you include all the packages. Um, import get pass AI suite as AI. We're going to be using, again, comparing the OpenAI model and the Anthropic model. Just another way to kind of make sure that and you can kind of play with this I think I did maybe refine this code down here. Yeah, I did. So I guess kind of ignore this piece. I think all we really need is blah, 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 blah. I don't think we really need this anymore. But anyways, so mainly it'll just be these two pieces here. I will include this code as well in the um, GitHub for granularity, so you guys can check it out and play with it. And maybe if you're in a business setting, maybe if you work for enterprise or some sort of stuff like that, and you have a project where you kind of do need to compare different models to understand which ones offer what and how accurate the responses are, this could be something pretty helpful. Also, if maybe you choose a cheaper model and you want to compare it to a more expensive model, but the cheaper model kind of you find out you kind of have a hunch that still performs or gets the answers that you want, just like the more expensive model, this could be a good way to test it out and showcase that to your leadership or to your stakeholders or whoever your client is to say, hey, you don't really need anything crazy expensive. The smaller models get it done, the minis get it done. Um, Go this route instead of the other route, the more expensive route. So let's go here. Da, 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 da. Def pp print. Do I still use this? I don't think I do. Anyways, um, so as you can see, we are using Grok here, but we're not using Grok for. I kind of just had this in here just from the AI suite itself, copy and pasted it. We're not using Grok Llama in this. It'll automatically resort to using the OpenAI and Anthropic model. So you don't have to worry about changing this. It's not going to like cost anything. You'll be okay. You don't need an API key for Grok. You'll be okay with just having the OpenAI one and the Anthropic one. But we're going to run this real quick. And the question that I have, again, to test, since Claude also is optimized for conversation ability, ethics, creative thinking, stuff like that, and GPT 4.5 is kind of supposed to be that, I believe, competitor to Claude's kind of emotional, creative, conversational abilities. We're going to kind of test it not with mathematical questions or with theoretical questions, stuff like that. Instead, we're going to kind of weave into maybe testing with like ethical, creative questions, maybe emotional questions, and see how it wants us to respond, how explanatory it is, and what we should do, navigating uh, human emotions, basically. Asking an AI model how to navigate human emotions in certain situations. So the question that I have is if telling the truth would cause someone immense emotional pain, but lying would protect their feelings, which is more ethical? Which is the more ethical choice and why? So let's go ahead and run this real quick. Now, it does take a while, and I think that's because both 3.7 and 4.5 do seem like they have more of an extensive thinking time, obviously not compared to the O1 models. They kind of maybe might run for like 15 or 30 seconds. These, depending on the question, could run for 10, could run for 5, but compared to OpenAI's past models, it does have a longer thinking time, which I kind of can appreciate if I'm being honest. Hopefully, it doesn't take too much longer. Nice. So, judging the response from the OpenAI model first, 4.5. Let's kind of move my face out of the way. Determining whether to lie or tell the truth when the truth will cause significant emotional pain involves carefully weighing competing ethical considerations. There are multiple ethical frameworks that address the dilemma. So it seems like it's also pretty educated on ethical frameworks to use different perspectives, different methods to use when trying to decipher uh, um, how you or whether or not to uh, telling the truth to your friend would be a beneficial thing, or whoever this someone is would be a benefit or not. So there's the consequentialism utilitarian framework. Utilitarian ethics suggests choosing the action that leads to the best outcome, usually the least harm and greatest overall benefit. The responses are kind of long, which does tell me that it did a decent amount of thinking or reasoning, whatever you want to call it. Deontological ethics, duty ethics. Deontological approach, like those advocated by philosopher Immanuel Kant, emphasize the duty and moral obligation inherent in truth telling, arguing that honesty respects an individual's autonomy. I would honestly, I'm not a philosopher or anything, but side note, if you want to get a good gist on different aspects of philosophy, um, I think Rene Descartes and Immanuel Kant should be someone that you definitely kind of look into uh, uh, and begin exploring. Virtue ethics. Virtue ethics emphasizes a person's character. It encourages honesty as a fundamental virtue, but also recognizes attributes such as empathy, compassion, and sensitivity. Balancing these considerations, most ethical perspectives recognize that protecting someone from emotional stress is valuable, yet honesty and trustworthiness build the foundation of healthy relationships. The key considerations include: will the lie lead to further deception and possibly greater harm in the future? Or is it genuinely a protective gesture that doesn't compromise important moral values? Does the truth hold significant constructive benefit over time, even though it is emotionally painful in the short term? Is the individual's dignity and autonomy better respected by telling them a difficult truth or shielding them from distressing information? There is no universally accepted single right answer to this ethical dilemma because context matters greatly. In many scenarios, gently revealing different truths with compassion and support may be preferable to shielding individuals with deception that could later erode trust. In other cases, temporary withholding or softening hard truths to prevent severe emotional damage might be ethically justified. This is a long, okay. Ultimately, the ethical choice involves empathetic judgment, careful consideration about the immediate and long term consequences, respect for the individual's autonomy, and the specific relationship involved. It seems like it did a pretty explanatory answer when it comes to what to consider when it comes to approaching someone's feelings or how someone might feel to a certain response, which I like. Now let's compare Anthropic's response. This is a meaningful ethical dilemma that philosophers have debated for centuries. There are several perspectives to consider. Those who value honesty as a principle might argue that truth telling is paramount as it respects personal autonomy, rights, blah, blah, blah. Those who emphasize trust for autonomy, rights to make informed decisions, it maintains trust in relationships long term. It avoids the complications that can arise from deception. Those who emphasize care and compassion will argue that protecting someone from unnecessary pain is important when the truth offers no actionable benefit, the harm caused would be disproportionate, the relationship and context matter. Many ethical frameworks suggest considering your relationship to the person, their expressed preferences about honesty, the consequences of both options, your intentions behind either choice. Rather than offering a single right answer, the most ethical approach often involves carefully weighing these factors in each specific situation. What specific circumstances are you considering? So, two distinct things that I think I noticed already. Um, I would say I'm going to do pros and cons of both. Uh, Pro for GPT, um, I can tell that it is more extensive as to reasoning and approaches and different frameworks you can use, which I kind of like because I am someone who needs a solution or different solutions, or I like different solutions to a problem, right? Solutions that I can choose. And obviously, consequentialism, deontological ethics, and virtue ethics are solutions that GPT 4.5 has offered you. Pick one for whatever circumstance that you are involved in when it comes to this problem or question. A pro for Anthropic, the 3.7 model, I like that it's succinct. I like that it kind of gives you different perspectives and then adds kind of bullet points under, like, for those who value such, they might think these things are important. Um, and think when if they value these things, think of the implications. For example, think of the relationship in context. Think of the harm caused, and if it would be disproportionate. Many ethical frameworks suggest considering, and I think that that is something that I do like, um, is that it gives what to consider versus just telling you the frameworks. It tells you if you're dealing with someone who emphasizes care and compassion, here's the things you consider. If you're dealing with somebody who values value and honesty, here's the things you consider. Do you know this person? Do you know this person well enough to know what they value? Last but not least, another thing, and this is maybe where I might say Claude has a one up, is the follow up question asking. It's simple, but very important, right? The Claude model is asking for more details. The AI model, the not the AI, the GPT model does not. And I know that sounds pretty simple and pretty like, oh, who cares? It asks a follow up question. Um, but follow up questions also make people think, right? They make people think of more details that probably need to be considered. It makes people think of what they're not considering and what they might need to consider, um, when trying to create the problem statement that they want answered, the scenario or the solution to an issue that they want answered. Asking the question, what specific circumstances are you considering, kind of gives more detail so that Claude can have a better response to this user's query. Let's try another question. So, actually, I wasn't done with the cons. Let me go with the cons now. So, cons are, um, again, follow-up question from the 4.5 model. I'm not a fan. I think if I think if the I think if OpenAI can add follow-up questions to their GPT models, it doesn't sound like a lot, but to me that's a huge leap. For 3.7, I wish it was more or as explanatory as 4.5, where Claude is supposed to be the ethical, creative, more deep thinking, deep reasoning models when it comes to human emotion. I will say 4.5 is a step ahead right now, and I kind of like that. So those are the cons that I'm seeing, where follow up questions for 4.5 needs to be included, and maybe better reasoning, more explanatory reasoning, needs to be included for uh, Claude 3.7. But let's try a different question real quick. This one I kind of already had copied. How would you console a friend who just lost their job, ensuring your response is empathetic and supportive? I believe in the climate that we're in now, where government jobs are being cut left and right, I think it's important to make sure you have an understanding of how to console someone in these very chaotic times. Um, there's been, I don't know how many individuals, I think over 10,000, maybe a few thousand, I don't know, that have already been kind of fired or resigned from government jobs. Some individuals in my family are pretty close to the government and have been in military positions, and they're kind of worried for um, the what the future looks like for employment. Not trying to make this political. It's not about that. It's just simply, if I am trying to console my family member, my friend who might have just lost their job due to these cuts, what is the best way to approach it? And since these models are supposed to be kind of the next, not next level, but the more empathetic reasoning models, I think it's important that we test that out. So, one thing that I want to know is, make sure you become aware of when to use what model. Um, Again, I think that the GPT models, they're very analytical, very research scientific, uh, uh, um, technical models that I would consider used for technical initiatives. For the Claude models, they're also technical, but they have an element of, again, the best way I can describe it is like a warm, empathetic feel. Uh, the GPT models have a cold, straight to the point, technical feel, where I would definitely use the GPT models for technical research. I would definitely use the GPT models for thinking through problems. And I would kind of use the Claude models definitely for coding, at least 3.7, definitely for coding. And I would use it also for writing blog posts, papers. Maybe you would have the GPT models write the first draft of that paper and then kind of pass it through Claude to add more of like a human emotional feel to it. Um, that's what I would do. But that's an opinion that I think can be tested by multiple individuals, and you let me know what you guys think. So, in response, how would you console a friend who just lost their job, ensuring your response is empathetic and supportive? I'm so sorry you're going through this losing. I'm so sorry you're going through this losing a job. Oh, I'm so sorry you're going through this. Losing a job is incredibly tough. I don't have an aneurysm right there. And it's completely understandable to feel upset or unsure right now. Remember, this setback doesn't define your worth or abilities. You're talented, capable, and I genuinely believe you'll bounce back stronger. I'm taken aback. I'm here for you. You can talk about anything, vent, or even brainstorm next steps when you're ready. We're in this together, and I'll support you however you need. Damn. Damn. That was actually nicer than I thought. Uh, as far as Anthropic's approach, consoling a friend after a job loss, I'd approach this with genuine empathy, acknowledging that losing a job can be deeply personal and affect someone's sense of identity and security. I might say something like this: I'm so sorry about your job. That's really tough news. And it's completely normal to feel upset, angry, or worried right now. What you're going through matters and your feelings are valid. I want you to know I'm here for you. Whether you need to vent, want practical help with your resume, or just need someone to sit with you, this setback doesn't define your worth or abilities. Is there anything specific you need right now? Or would you just like to talk about how you're feeling? The most important thing is listening more than speaking, following their lead, and avoiding empty platitudes or immediately jumping to problem solving unless they ask for it. Damn, AI models might be more emotionally intelligent than like majority of humans, but I digress. That's a conversation for another day. I think what ensuring. So I guess what the GPT model is doing is kind of already writing out the response I should say. Da, 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 da. Whereas Anthropic um, kind of saying, hey, this is how you do it. Like it's giving me a solution, which I kind of like. I didn't know um, the GPT model was giving me a solution. It kind of just started writing this. Uh, and I was kind of confused. I thought it was talking to me, but which that might be a good thing. Maybe like with me feeling like it was directed towards me, made me feel even better. But this is honestly, both are pretty good results. I'm not mad at either one. I think they're pretty nicely well written and amazing responses. Very, very, very emotionally intelligent. One thing I want to test out real quick is let's compare this 4.5 model with GPT 4.0. I want to see the differences in responses. So let's do OpenAI and here, boom. 2024 08 06. Okay, so this is pretty updated. And then let's see how it responds. I'm curious if there's a stark difference between emotional intelligence to see if 4.0 kind of responds like a Dr. Spock from Star Trek kind of thing, or or maybe 4.0 also has like uh, a good sense of emotional intelligence, or if 4.5 kind of just takes the cake. But it looks like it's the same concept where 4.5 has already given me the response I should use. I'm so sorry to hear about your job loss. I understand this might be incredibly stressful. Difficult, please remember that you don't face da, 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 da. Kind of along the same lines. Your skill strength along the same lines as the first one. Nothing crazy different. But let's read four O's. I'm really sorry to hear that you lost your job. It must be really tough to go through this. I want you to know that I'm here for you. If you feel like talking about it, I'll be happy to listen and support you anyway. Remember, this does not define your worth or potential, and it's okay to feel upset and take the time you need processing everything. If you're up for it, we could brainstorm ideas together that might come next, but there's no rush. You're talented and capable. I have no doubt that new opportunities will come your way. In the meantime, if you need any help, I'm just a call or message away. Mm, I will say that the 3.5 model is way more soft. I don't know what it is. I'm so sorry to hear about your job loss. I understand that this might be incredibly stressful and difficult for you. Please remember that you don't have to face this alone. I'm here to support you. Losing a job can bring up a lot of emotions, and it's completely okay to feel the sadness or frustration you're experiencing right now. I'm here anytime you want to talk, vent, or think through your next steps. Your skills, strength, and resilience have gotten you through tough times before, and I'm confident they'll help you move forward again. In the meantime, please be gentle with yourself and remember that this situation doesn't define your value or abilities. Let me know how I can best support you through this. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. There's still in my perspective and in my feeling, there's still more of a hint of softness from GPT 4.5 than there is 4.0. I don't know what it is. Again, 4.0 does feel straight to the point to me, um, not as expressive. Uh, yeah, I don't know. 4.5 still has more of a softness that I did enjoy. I will admit. I'm not gonna lie. It did kind of strike my heart just a bit. Um, but you let me know your opinions. Have you tried 4.5 yet? Have you kind of compared with other models? Let me know what you might think in the comments because I am super curious um, on what your experience was. But with that being said, bye bye.